What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about how the Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, has cracked the code on how to deal with our American president, Donald Trump. So, recently, Carney and Trump met up once again at the White House to basically discuss the future of the United States and Canada. And from what I understand, it went fine, which that in and of itself is pretty much an accomplishment because Trump can be difficult to get along with, which brings me to this video claiming that Mark Carney has figured out the Trump and how to deal with him. And as an American, I'm actually really interested to hear more about this. So let's take a look.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. It's an honor to have the Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, who I have made very popular. He's an extremely popular Prime Minister.
I didn't see that one. I didn't see that. I didn't hear about this. Oh my God. There's got to be so many little clips and sound bites like this when you're having a meeting with Donald Trump. Did he just say he is the reason Mark Carney is popular? How does he find a way to take credit for that even? Is there something I'm not thinking of? How's he taking credit for Mark Carney's popularity? Other than Mark Carney was kind of elected as the guy who was going to take on Donald Trump and be, stand up to him and be aggressive towards the United States and work in Canada's interests. And so is Trump saying he made Mark Carney popular because Mark Carney was going to stand up to Trump, who is unpopular? Like Trump being, I don't know what he's trying. You know what? If you spend too much time trying to dissect and think about exactly what Donald Trump is trying to say or what he means, it really can make you go insane. So let's just keep moving.
Okay, here we go. Trump-Carney round 2, their second Oval Office meeting in a room known as much for its bloodshed as for its bridge building.
Seriously, this is kind of why I'm interested in this video, how Mark Carney has cracked the code on how to put up with Donald Trump, how to get anything done, because we've had several recent examples of world leaders disasters in the White House when they're meeting with Donald Trump. I think the most famous one recently was when Zelensky was pretty much kicked out of the White House with J.D. Vance and Trump, and it was a disaster. And there's no guarantee what's going to happen or if you're going to have a positive outcome when you're talking to Trump. So yeah, I'm really interested to see what the Canadian Prime Minister is kind of doing to facilitate, what is a very strained, let's be honest, what's been a very negative relationship, right? Especially in the past year between Canada and the United States, and how Mark Carney is trying to make it work.
You're not winning. You're not winning this. You're in no position to dictate. You're gambling with World War III.
Now, if you were looking for any real substance to come out of this meeting between Carney and Trump, let me stop you right there. There was none. No big announcements, no real policy discussions.
Yeah, I tried to watch a little bit of the Trump-Carney meeting number 2. I've seen some clips, but that's kind of what I was thinking. I really didn't hear much. It sounded like nothing really happened, which is disappointing, annoying, like that these meetings are taking place, and it's like, for what? What happened? There's no trade deal or anything announced, so that was disappointing.
Mainly just performance. But that's something Mark Carney appears to understand.
And Mark,
Performance.
it's an honor to have you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
If I may, we'll hear those words again, because showing deference is chapter 1 of the Carney playbook to dealing with Trump. From there,
Whoa, okay. They really like dissected this. They really broke this like down. Carney has a strategy, whether it's conscious or unconscious, or it's probably pretty deliberate, let's be honest. Um, a strategy when going in to talk to Donald Trump or negotiate, number one being respectful, submission, yielding to judgment, opinion. So I don't know if this is reading too deeply into it, but yeah, when Mark Carney he wants to talk, especially when you're trying to like talk over somebody like Donald Trump who wants to. Trump can talk for like hours. Um, let's make one thing clear: he likes to talk, um, and Carney knows to kind of go in it with this gentle. If you're going to get a word in and you're going to do it in a respectful manner, which is, by the way, very Canadian of him. I like that. And honestly smart to like know how to approach the Trump so Carney can get a word in and not ruffle any feathers. And let's be honest as well. It's kind of sad and annoying that Carney even has to do this whole song and dance and like tiptoe around, walk on eggshells to not make Trump mad. I think that's probably one of the most frustrating things. If you're a world leader having to deal with Donald Trump, if you don't like him, it doesn't matter. You have to do your best to not make him mad, because it's in your own interest to not make him upset with you, which I know is very, very frustrating for a lot of world leaders. It must be.
it's about disarming and de-escalating, then maintaining discipline while defending only when necessary.
Before a major event like this,
Oh my God.
every sort of word is carefully chosen and thought about. Mark Carney has to pick and choose his moments, when to push back, when to speak up.
That's true. I didn't know that. Props to Canada. I didn't know that you guys thought so deeply about this, but I think that's kind of the privilege that Americans have, where, whether you love him or whether you hate him, Donald Trump, it's in many ways, it's probably better. I'm speaking loosely here, not everything, but bear with me here. In some ways, it must be like, it's kind of nice that Trump is the American president. Like, he's on our side. Like, if you're gonna have this crazy, annoying, loud, opinionated guy who's gonna have all this power and influence, you kind of want that person on your side, if that makes any sense. I'm not saying, like, that necessarily Trump is, like, the best president that we've had or anything, but I'm just saying, if we're living in a world where Donald Trump is the leader of a powerful country, Americans, I guess a lot of Americans are kind of relieved, like he's on our side, if you know what I mean, Because, God, it must be annoying to have to figure out and think about what you're going to say and not trigger him or say the wrong thing or how you're going to get a word in. And I've never really thought about it like that, which is like a privilege Americans have. We have to deal with Donald Trump in our own way. He literally dictates the policy of our country. But other countries have to deal with him in a whole different way, So I've never quite thought about it like that. If I may.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. If I may, you kindly hosted me and some of my colleagues a few months ago, and I said...
That was slick. That's slick. Mark Carney, he knows what he's doing. The if I may, that's a good one. And I think it all amounts to him trying to respectfully get a word in when Trump wants to do most of the talking. They literally strategize these things like, if I may, if you don't mind, let me just real quick. So it's like very non-threatening, and he gets to say what he wants to say. Makes sense.
At the time, you are a transformative president.
If you're going to speak to Donald Trump, world leaders have learned that it's helpful to do two things immediately. The first is to say thank you, ideally both to him personally, then to the room publicly.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. Thank you. No, thank you.
I can't help but, like, as an American, it's kind of embarrassing to hear all this. It's embarrassing for America. Like, I've never seen a video where it just shows how much other countries and other world leaders have to, like, do this whole song and dance to appease the American president. I don't like it. Like, I don't like that it's that way. Like, everybody should just be mutually respectful and, equal and talking to each other like world leaders on an even playing field. And I don't like living in this world where, like, seeing other world leaders having to be like, oh, thank you very much, Donald Trump. Thank you. If I may, like, you should just be able to be comfortable and talk candidly and openly. That's going to lead to the best outcomes and the strongest friendships. And I don't like this.
Thank Mr. President for his hospitality.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can I say thank you for your hospitality, for your leadership?
Which maybe is just called being polite.
Yeah.
But then Mark Carney has a way of almost asking for permission. This, if I may, way of beginning a sentence.
Sure.
He'll do this again a bit later in the meeting.
In many cases, it's much better and easier, but
Yeah,
please.
if I may, let's be clear about the
we
relationship
go.
as it stands right now.
And this
I like that. I like that. I'm not talking about all of Mark Carney's policy decisions or whatever he's doing in Canada. I don't understand all that. I'm just saying, seeing Mark Carney talk, and he seems like a nice enough guy, and he knows how to approach Donald Trump, and I like it. Yeah, I like that.
followed up with praise. Praise early, praise often.
And I said,
Although it's weird, like, that we're all watching this knowing it's fake, right? It's I'm sure Mark Carney is probably a nice, polite man. It seems genuine to me, but, like, it's all an act when it's Trump, right? Like, that's the sad reality. It's all phony, which is just weird to think about, because none of these world leaders actually like Trump on a personal level. At least it doesn't seem that way to me. I don't know. I don't know for sure.
at the time, you are a transformative president. And since then, the transformation in the economy, unprecedented commitments of NATO partners
A lot of
to
compliments.
defense spending, peace from India, Pakistan through to Azerbaijan, Armenia, disabling Iran as a force of terror.
What this all adds up to is a very flattering show of deference, echoing back to Trump the set of accomplishments that maybe mean the most to him, certainly the thing that he feels makes him worthy of a Nobel Peace Prize.
We've
Right.
solved 7 wars.
We're in the future now. Like, we know he did not get the Nobel Peace Prize.
7 wars. Wars that were unsolvable. I ended 7 wars. I have ended 7 unendable wars. They said they
It's like so annoying, because even when Trump, from time to time, when he actually genuinely does a good thing, which from time to time he does. From time to time he does something that's actually positive and good. You can't deny it. Like ending wars, it's just, but then going about like, look how great I am. I am the savior of you peasants. It's like, why? Like, he would be so much more liked if he did good things and then didn't talk about how great he was.
We're unendable.
He's trying to butter him up a little bit. He's trying to use some flattery to try and build a rapport with the president in the hopes that that might be the way that we get a positive deal for Canada and the economy.
That is an approach. Let's talk about the approach for a second. This is a strategy to be super polite, complimentary, but another strategy would be like the opposite, I guess, to be like very firm and like very kind of like Trump in a way, like be Trump to Trump, like take on his approach of like throwing his weight around, making threats. Like that doesn't seem like a good world to live in, but I don't know, part of me just like wonders, does Trump respect that kind of thing? Because that's the way Trump does his negotiation and business, with like an aggressive strategy. Whereas a lot of other world leaders, I think, take on more of this like, let's see if we can butter him up and make him like us, which I think works and has worked, but it's certainly not as fun. It's not as, I don't know. I'm sure a lot of countries would love to just tell Trump exactly what they think of him and his policies and threaten him back. But it's honestly, if we live in a world where every world leader was like Trump, it would just be madness. So it's honestly a good thing that there's people like Mark Carney and who are willing to play ball like that.
And this deference extends to those moments, which, in a way, I've come to think of as Trump's highest form of praise, when he makes a good-natured but still somewhat cutting joke at your expense.
I'm running out of time, but this is, in many respects, the most important.
The
What you
merger
created.
of Canada
No,
and the
what
United
you
States.
have created.
I'm not like
That wasn't where I was going.
I didn't see this either. He said the merger? He's the merger of the US and Canada, but Trump is laughing. He's joking. Does that mean Trump knows the merger of Canada and the US is a joke? Because he's laughing. He knows it's a joke. That right there just kind of makes you, I don't know. It just makes you wonder, like, what the hell is Trump thinking? Like, what does he truly believe? Because in the past, he's genuinely expressed ambition for Canada to join the U.S. And then here, he'll he'll joke and be like, ha ha, Canada merging with the U.S. Ha ha, no, I'm just kidding. I think he even said he's kidding. So, like, where's the truth? I don't know.
If you think back to the beginning of the year when Trump would make these 51st state sort of comments,
Look, what I'd like to see, Canada become our 51st state.
Clearly, he's not kidding right there. That's not a joke, clearly.
they were aggressive. There was a harsh undertone. That wasn't what we were hearing today.
It's like an inside joke between the two of them. You know, he kind
Yeah.
of gave him a slap on the arm. There was sort of a warm exchange between the two of them when he used that quip during Carney's remarks.
For the first time in decades, hundreds of years, thousands of years, this prospect of peace that you've made possible, Canada stands foursquare behind those efforts, and we'll do whatever we can to support
Very
them.
nice.
Okay. I don't know. Seeing a little more of the interview there, the discussion that they had, almost makes me a little more hopeful. Like, a lot of respect to Mark Carney and Canada. Clearly, you guys go in trying your darndest to, like, get along with Trump and make something work. So it's no lack of effort from Canada or the Prime Minister. That gives me hope. Donald Trump starting to understand Canada will never join the United States and that is a joke. That gives me a little hope. So I actually like what I'm seeing. De-escalate and disarm.
So back to this notion of Carney almost feeling like he ought to ask permission to speak. In the entire 30-plus minute news conference, Carney has only asked one direct question by a reporter. And even that was only because Trump made it so.
A question for the president.
And what came was a question worded to provoke.
Mr. Carney, Mr. Prime Minister, I'd like to know how come the UK and the European Union have succeeded to sign deals and bring the tariffs down, and Canada still hasn't been able to do the same?
And there are many.
I'd actually love to hear the answer to this. That's a question right there.
Ways to take that question, because
I mean, why haven't the US and Canada signed a deal where, like, the US and the UK have, for example? I don't know if it's I don't think it's the best deal for the UK, to be completely honest. So, probably because Canada is trying to actually get a good deal, and probably because it's just hard to make a deal with Trump.
Imagine you're the Canadian Prime Minister and you're asked about your country's failure to bring tariffs down. You're probably at the same time wondering, why don't you ask the guy who brought them up in the first place?
Yeah.
But Carney's answer is first to de-escalate, accentuate the positive.
So this is, again, how Carney knows how to deal with the Trump. Because this question could easily, like, cause a lot of turmoil. Because Carney could just speak the truth, the blunt truth, and be like, because of this guy. This guy won't make a deal. This guy's got all these crazy tariffs on Canada. It's all because of him. Ask him. That's what he wants to say. But that wouldn't get anywhere and it wouldn't even be good for the US and Canada relationship. So, and Carney understands that. I seriously doubt Trump ever has to think about things like this. That's one thing that's probably really nice about being Trump is he never thinks about how he comes across. He never cares about the ramifications of what he's saying, or he just literally speaks his mind, which is probably a wonderful place to be and very freeing. And whereas it just shows what a massive difference it is. And it's just got to be so annoying for other politicians who can't just speak their mind.
If I may, let's be clear about the relationship as it stands right now. We are the second largest trading partner of the United States. We do a lot of trade going across the border where we're cooperating, first thing. Secondly,
and he goes on to make another point about how much Canada invests in the U.S.
He sort of tried to answer without saying much of anything, without making any commitments or anything like that, without criticizing Trump or the U.S. position in these negotiations. What he was clearly doing in this meeting was trying to get on Trump's good side.
He's clearly... Look at these pictures. He's clearly gotten on his good side. I've never seen Trump so jolly. And Mark Carney looks delighted at something. I don't know what's going on over there. But they look like they're having a great time. Like, it looks like they're friends. Which I think is exactly what Mark Carney is going for.
Stay there.
But after de-escalation, Carney makes an attempt to disarm. Not the reporter, but Trump himself.
Thirdly, there are areas, as the president just said, where conflict, maybe not so much conflict, we compete.
What he's referring to there is the precisely 6 times up until that moment that Trump framed the Canada-U.S. trade relationship as a conflict.
We have some natural conflict, but we'll probably work that out.
It's even little things like that where Trump doesn't care. Like, he'll call it a conflict. He'll use the aggressive word. And Carney won't, because he's actually thinking about it. And Carney's almost like subliminally working on Trump's mind or something here. It's actually fascinating to break down.
Conflict. We also have mutual love. We have a natural conflict. It's a natural business conflict. Nothing wrong with it. It's a very natural conflict. Americans don't want to buy cars that are made in Canada. We have the same.
What? That's not. I'm actually just listening to what Trump is saying, and it's like, what? That's not even true. No American cares at all if our car is made in Canada. Nobody cares. That's fine. Most of our cars are made in like Japan. Like nobody cares. If it's a good car, it's like that's at a good price. What if it's whatever? Like what? That's ugh. No.
conflict.
You win or you lose. And he sees Canada as a natural conflict, and that, the American economy is in conflict with the Canadian economy because they want the same things, right? They want.
It's also interesting to just hear Trump. Trump clearly, when this is all over, he wants to be able to say, and I haven't heard him, I hadn't heard this before, but obviously Trump is trying to say, oh, it's nothing personal. I love Canada. Canada is one of our best friends. It's just business. Nothing personal. It's just business. It's a natural business conflict. I didn't know that's the angle Trump is going to go with. Because that's really interesting. Because even someone like Donald Trump, like at the end of the day, it's in his interest for like Canada to not hate him, especially if there's ever like a trade deal and the relations get better between Canada and the U.S. And you look back at this whole thing, Trump is going to try to just be like, oh, that was hardly even me. It was just business. The natural progression. That's so interesting. And I'm actually not that surprised.
Want auto jobs, they want steel jobs, and Donald Trump campaigned on rebuilding these kinds of industries.
Then Carney frames the relationship in a slightly different way, one that he surely understands Trump will relate to.
Conflict, maybe not so much conflict. We compete.
And you know how many times Trump uses the word conflict from that point on for the rest of the news conference? 0.
Oh!
Instead, leaning.
Oh. Carney got in his head. It's so... I do think stuff like this is just so interesting. And I didn't know Carney and his team were like operating at this level and thinking about it so deeply and trying to, let's be honest, basically figure out how they can manipulate Donald Trump in Canada's interests. It's really interesting to see.
On this other, perhaps more intuitive language.
And Canada is very competitive. I can tell you that. Canada is a very competitive country. Competitiveness. She's a very competitive person.
Mark Carney did what Canada has been trying to do for so long, is offer a gentle course correction to try and maybe present the Canadian view that says, okay, maybe not conflict, but competition, and try to make the overall case that Canada is better and the United States is better when they work together.
Now that I've seen like more of this, and especially hearing the Canadian point of view on this makes a lot of sense to me. This is really interesting, really insightful, actually. And so far, nothing's really been working. Like, Canada has steadfastly been rejecting Donald Trump and America and boycotting us and protesting us, and that makes all the sense in the world. And it's totally reasonable, actually. It's like, honestly, I respect it. Unfortunately, it hurts America, but at this point, with all that having happened for the last year, basically, in order to get anywhere, it feels like Carney understands we can't just go back and forth saying how much we hate each other and how much we want the other person to fail. And Carney's taking on this peacemaker approach and diffusing the situation, changing Donald Trump's sentiment about it, saying, we're not enemies, we're not in a conflict. Healthy competition. And Canada, Donald Trump is even expressing how much he respects Canada, and I think that's great and a good trajectory. Yeah, this was really interesting, actually. I learned a lot of things about what Canada is thinking about America and Donald Trump specifically, and honestly, a lot about Canada's approach to trying to make a deal with America. And dealing with Donald Trump is, critical to that. And it's fascinating. This was fascinating and actually kind of fun to take a look at. So anyway, if you enjoyed this, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on the U.S.-Canada relationship and everything Mark Carney's been trying to do to dealing and manipulating Donald Trump. And that'd be cool to hear about, especially from a Canadian point of view. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Canada and seeing Canadian things I've never seen before, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.